Remember the Rolodex? A spinning wheel of index cards with names, numbers, addresses, and other info. It was like a hunk of solid gold in business and social life. At the height of my career, I had 3 on my desk. I can only imagine what Michael Burcham's Rolodex looked like. If the name rings a bell, you don't need to hear this introduction. You're probably one of the countless folks connected to or counseled by Michael through business pitches, both hits and misses.
I don't think most successful businesses are either original nor are they wow. I think they're solving ordinary problems, and they can be tweaks to something already. They can be taking something that works in another industry and bringing it to your industry. It can be solving what looks like fairly boring problems to people that you say, I'm going to solve that. So I think it's never about the novel thing most of the time. It's things that are ordinary people. If you said, does that bug you? Would you like it fixed? And they said, yeah, then that's probably a really good business idea.
He is simply one of Nashville's most influential people, with a keen ability for analyzing and realizing potential, thanks to a cheerleading grandmother, the U.S. Army, and the French horn. I'm Demetria Kaladimos. It's Banner & Company. Michael Burcham, finally I get you in this seat.
Oh, finally I get the opportunity to meet you.
Well, listen, you are one of the people that I've wanted to talk to because so many people point to you as being a connector, a mentor, a teacher. That must make you feel good.
It does. I mean, I had so many people help me along my journey, and I promised myself if I ever had any degree of success, I was definitely going to send the elevator back down. So hearing that, that's a fulfillment of a dream, is the chance to help somebody else.
You know, people are very interested in stories that go from poverty to privilege, or however you want to say it, rags to riches. Yours is certainly one of those. Give us a little taste of where you came from and how this journey started.
Yeah, so I grew up in rural Mississippi, a little town called Boonville. My parents separated when I was very young, so I lived with my grandmother and grandfather. My grandfather drove a gas truck. My grandmother was disabled. She had survived TB. So we were a Medicaid family because the only income we had was his driving the truck. So it was really modest. We had a little cinder block house, about 1,200 square feet, and that was life growing up in a tiny town. You know, I tell my friends, I didn't realize we were poor until I went to school, and other kids told me we were poor.
Did they really, to your face?
Oh yeah, because small towns can be a vicious little place to grow up, you know. But it was funny. My dad remarried when I was probably 11, and I went to live with he and my stepmom. But by that point, my grandmother had instilled in me this sense of purpose, and you can do anything you set your mind to, and I had these big dreams, and my dad would sometimes tell me, son, you got champagne taste in a beer pocketbook. And I'm like, well, one day I'm going to have a champagne pocketbook.
Do you think your grandmother's enthusiasm came from the fact that she was fighting for her life?
Oh, the fact that she had survived when hardly anyone survived TB at that time. I mean, she was sent to a sanatorium to die and didn't. And so she came back with this fight. And you know, I was the oldest grandson, and so I think she just invested heavily in my well-being, and she wanted me to feel that I had every chance in the world to be anything I wanted to be. And every night it was a Bible story and a belief in what do you want to be when you grow up. And you know, I think patterning a young person like that, it gives you a level of confidence you don't get in any other way.
How big was this school?
Well, the elementary school I went to had about 31 students in each class. So it was tiny. The whole high school for the county would only graduate about 90 students a year for the whole county. So it was a really small town. We had a Piggly Wiggly and a Sonic drive-in and some local stores until Walmart moved in, and that was about it.
You did have an influential teacher, I hear.
I did. Her name was Barbara Beard. When I got to high school, I wanted to study science because the people I knew in town with any wealth were doctors, and I'd heard if you do really well in science, you can go to medical school. So I was taking science classes, but Demetria, I was a bit of a class clown because I'd use humor to mask and try to fit in. And she kept me after a chemistry class in my sophomore year, and she's like, are you going to rot in this little town, or are you going to make something of yourself? Because you got a lot of potential, but making a joke of everything is not going to get you anywhere. And I'd never had an adult say anything like that to me. And she didn't say it in a mean way. She said because she gave a big damn about me. And, I couldn't sleep that night. I went back to her the next day, and I apologized for being cut up in the class and said, can you help me? And she did. She took me to every science fair. She tutored me. And, by the time I was a senior in high school, I was taking college classes at the local junior college. And I credit her for helping me go from a student who was coasting to, an A student who really had their head on screwed right by the time I got out of high school.
But didn't you go into the military before you pursued education?
Yeah, I had to. I mean, I got an academic scholarship. We also had a very influential music teacher who taught me to play a French horn. And so I got a...
Hey, that's hard.
It's hard, but boy, the thing about it, the French horn was free because they're so expensive. The school owned one, and it was sitting in a closet, and nobody could play it. And he says, I want to teach you to play that. And if you do, you can get a scholarship to college. And I'm like, by God, I'm going to learn to play that. And so between a music scholarship and an academic scholarship, I had tuition and books, but I couldn't afford the dorm and meals. So I joined the Army National Guard, and they had the GI Bill. And if you served 4 years, you could get tuition assistance to college. So between the Army, academic, and military, I was able to go to Ole Miss and basically go at zero cost because I was able to get my dorm room, I was able to get my meals, my books, my tuition, and then I just worked a few odd jobs to have some pocket money.
What was the initial goal? Did you think, I'm going to get out of this and be a doctor? I'm going to go into the medical business?
So my original goal, honestly, was I wanted to go to medical school because people in my small town who seemed to have everything were the few doctors in town. While I was at Ole Miss, I was tutoring other students that weren't doing so well in science, and a number of them applied to physical therapy school. Funny thing, I called my grandmother and says, what do you think? She says, go for it, see what happens. So I applied, I got in, I called her back. She said, I got in, but I thought I was going to go medical. She said, Michael, God opens the door of opportunity, walk through it. And so I went to PT school. And I'm really glad I did. I finished, I ran the cadaver lab at the medical school for a year.
Spooky.
But it was good money. And the customers don't talk back much. The lesson I learned, though, is out of school 3 or 4 years, I realized I love the business of medicine more than I love being a clinician. And I saw an opportunity to impact so many people if the business could be done well. And so, I'd come to Nashville. I'd gotten employed at HCA and made friends with the chief financial officer there. And he's like, I can hire a lot of practitioners, and I really need somebody to help me with all these contracts we're getting from the insurance companies. And I'd expressed a lot of interest in that, so one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I was getting sent to Belmont that Jack Massey had helped found, and he helped found HCA.
Yep.
HCA had a scholarship to go, so I got to go to Belmont and transitioned over to the finance team at HCA and started doing contracting for the company, and that really springboarded my career into what I do today.
Were you a duck to water? Did you like the numbers and the graphs and all that?
Not so. I was good at the numbers. What I loved is impact. For instance, let me give you a simple example. Back in the time, there was a health plan here called PruCare. Prudential owned it, and they were delivering babies with the Miller Medical Group at a really small hospital in town, and we were wanting to open an obstetrics program at Westside Hospital. This is prior to being Centennial. And I was able to put together a contract with PruCare that would move 1,000 births to Westside and open our entire OB program. with real customers day one. And I got to see the transformation we could create. We created the very first, they're called LDRP, where you labor, delivery, postpartum recovery, all in the same room. And it was a massive breakthrough in obstetric care. And I got to help be a part of that through the contracting work I'd done. So it was what was the intoxicant for me was the opportunity to impact at a bigger scale than I'd ever do as a solo practitioner.
I would think that made the moms and families happy.
Oh, yeah.
Did it save money or did it
Saved
make money?
a lot of money because in the past you would move from 3 different rooms having a baby. Here you check in one place and you're just there. So it not only improved efficiency, which saved money, but moms and babies were so much happier because they could be in a place and just nest. And there's nothing more important with a new baby than everything feels familiar around you. And that was the whole goal.
So that was success number one, or one of the early successes.
One of the early
bosses
ones.
Must have been, this guy's onto something.
You know, I had the opportunity, I started contracting locally, and by the time I was done, I was contracting for healthcare, HCA across the whole country, and helping all markets think about how to be smarter about how we could access new pockets of customers we had not accessed before, how to open new programs. These were early days when insurers were trying to figure it out, employers were trying to figure it out. And you know, it was just a gift. I was at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, but you also seem to have some sort of innate ability to look at the landscape and say, here's efficiency, here's a new idea, here's making it better.
I think one of my superpowers has always been a strategic view of what's happening in a market and how to take pieces that the average person might not see and how they stitch together to form a solution. And whether that's bringing together various constituencies or seeing a market trend and what we could do with it, that's always been a gift, and I was able to use that in that role.
Did you play chess or play cards, or what do you think
Loved
grew
to play
that
chess
in you?
and Battleship. Battleship was my first game. I grew up loving Battleship. This was before the electronic version where you could, you had to call out the numbers. But then from Battleship, I started playing chess, and I really like the game of strategy. Yeah.
Maybe there is a connection there.
I think there probably is.
It's Banner and Company. I'm Demetria Kaladimos. We'll be right back. Now, you built this first company and had good success with it. And was it after that one that you walked away and started the Entrepreneur Center?
It was after the second one. The first company was called Theraphysics, and I wanted to change the way rehabilitation was done. I was a former physical therapist, so we bought physical, occupational, and speech therapy practices in markets, and we built it around customer experience, meaning I would study patterns of where people lived versus where they worked, and we'd set up our practices along that pathway between work and home. And we would go on site to employers and offer services so the employee didn't have to leave the workplace. Very innovative back in the day. This was early 90s, and that company did really well. And then after that, a company was called Paradigm Health, and we took care of the sickest 1% of the population, really get into care support and care management. Then after that was sold, I had a period of time that I had to agree if I wasn't going to work for the buyer of the company, I needed to not work in healthcare for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So
like
I thought,
a non-compete?
Yeah, I had a non-compete. And it was fair because I had gotten paid well. And I'm like, okay, when I was trying to raise money in Nashville, it was very hard. I would have to drive around. I got a lot of no's. Actually never raised money in Nashville, raised it in New York. And I'm like, young people need an opportunity, if they want to start a business in Nashville, to get resources and support and be able to get capital. So I had gotten to know Janet Miller and some of the folks at the Chamber. We started talking. The Chamber had really wanted to get something like the Entrepreneur Center off the ground, was able to get the mayor's support, went to see Phil Bredesen, who was our governor at the time. He loved the idea.
Being an entrepreneur himself.
Oh, yeah. He's like, yes, we want to keep entrepreneurs in Nashville and attract more of them. And I'm like, well, let's do this. So there we go.
How new was the idea of an EC? Had other cities done them?
A few cities were starting to. They were much bigger cities than us. There had been a lot of success, of course, out in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
There had been a really strong success in Boulder, Colorado. And there had been a few successes around New York, but nothing in the city the size of Nashville had done this. But I knew Nashville was entrepreneurial. Just when you think of all the songwriters who've moved here, the musicians who work together, I mean, they're entrepreneurs all on their own. It's a very creative city, and I thought, there's a lot of entrepreneurs here, and the minute we hang a sign out, I think they're just going to all show up, and they absolutely did.
The other part of the equation, though, was that capital and the people with money. Do you remember the first time you connected idea with funding?
I do. So I had a young man who heard me speaking at a Rotary, I think, about we were going to open the Entrepreneur Center. This was down on Lower Broad. We had moved in right after the 2010 flood. Gaylord had a building down there that had gotten terribly flooded. They just wanted out. So I sublet it for pennies on the dollar. I just had to clean out the mud and the fish. And, he came over before I even had furniture and pitched his idea, and it was terrible. A pitch, but I loved what he was trying to accomplish. And I thought, I think this would be the right first person to back. So I invited him to move in. I worked with him for the next couple of years. And his name was Jason Moore. And we created a beautiful company called Stratasand that some local angels invested in. And then he sold it to a private equity company. It did extremely well, and it got sold again. And today, Jason is an investor helping other people. And so it's extremely gratifying to see someone who's made that whole journey and now is giving back the way I'm trying to give back.
Yeah. On the flip side, certainly there were ventures and ideas that didn't make it. Without embarrassing anyone, can you give us an example?
Oh, there are countless examples. The most challenging ones are when people's ideas are like squirrels and rabbits and they just keep moving around. And that happens a lot. I had a young lady who was really good at planning events who got into, I'm going to provide food at Airbnbs, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And before you know it, her idea was so scattered that there was nothing there. It was just, she was just busy driving around town doing errands, and she just destroyed her idea. A couple of folks who I've gotten to know were trying to create support services for physicians, but they never went and asked the doctor, what do you want? They just created what they thought they wanted. Yeah. This happens in technology a lot, probably dozens and dozens of technology companies in the trash can that, a really young developer thought, everybody's gonna love this, and it's just another app that went nowhere. So there's plenty of those. I think the secret is always go do your customer discovery, validate somebody wants to buy what you're building, make sure you're solving this for more people than yourself. That's always the lesson learned.
Us in the TV audience, we look at Shark Tank, and we're looking at products usually.
Yeah.
Did the EC handle more services than products?
It was about 75% services and 25% products. I think because this is a largely service town, and so that it was just a natural extension of what Nashville already is. I mean, today the EC helps with products, services, logistics, technology. So it's really rounded out the way the city has rounded out and grown. But when we started the EC, Nashville was largely a service town, and it was mostly service.
It's interesting because business is so fiercely competitive. But the EC is about sharing ideas and best practices and sort of cheerleading other people on. Is that counterintuitive to some of these competitive folks?
I think if any other city, it would probably feel counterintuitive, but Nashville's always been a collaborative town. I mean, the way songwriters get together and write a song, the way the Healthcare Council says the competitor isn't in our zip code. They're outside this city. Let's work together to create something. And that was, when I started the Entrepreneur Center, that was my whole MO. It's like, if you're afraid somebody's going to steal your idea, don't come. But, there's only one Mona Lisa, and there is no paint by number that looks that good. So if somebody's trying to copy you, if they don't have your degree of passion, if they've not done the research you have, there's nothing more wonderful than a cheap copy of what you're trying to make. So let them try to compete. You go do your thing. And, building a company, Demetria, is like, imagine this. You get a box of Legos, and I ask you to make a little house out of Legos. Well, how many different designs can you do? It's the same thing around a business idea. The business idea is the box of Legos. How you put it together determines your business model and how profitable it can be, and is anybody going to buy it? And so I always am trying to remind young entrepreneurs, don't worry about somebody stealing your box of Legos. Go create something really cool with it, and nobody can touch it.
You teach and you also write books. Yeah. And you write books, at least one of them, about making mistakes. Yeah. I mean, people, of course, you learn from mistakes, but do you think people learn quicker and better by studying others' failures?
Oh, yeah. Next to your own failures, other people's failures are the best stories to learn from, because some of them are funny. Some of them, if you're honest, you see yourself doing the same thing, yeah. And you're like, oh my God, I'm dropping down that same road. I mean, the book you're referring to is called The Art of Startup Failure. And I did a research over my 30 years, and I picked the 23 most common things people do to screw up their startup business.
Example.
So they hire people from corporations with titles when they actually just need gritty people who'll get in every day and work, because the idea is going to pivot and change week to week, month to month, to find the customer, because you're in a discovery mode of finding the customer. You don't need a big policy and procedure manual just yet until you got 3 or 4 people buying something. So, go in.
So don't be fooled by the CV or whatever.
Oh, no, because most of those people have a whole team under them doing things, and they like telling people what to do. They don't like to do. And you need to hire doers if you're going to have a startup. So that's an easy one of the chapters. The other is just how you manage your time. I think people have fallen in love with the idea. They watch Shark Tank and they're like, oh, that looks fun. And they fail to realize this is a 12 to 14 hour a day job, 6 to 7 days a week. What are you going to give up in your life to do this? And I always ask people that when they come to see me about investing. I'm like, tell me what your work week looks like and what are you giving up to run this? And often I just get a blank stare, and it's kind of like, you're not ready for an investor at all. But the book is it has 23 chapters. There's a success and a failure story in every one. Here's the sad truth. I invested in almost every one of those companies.
The failure ones?
Oh, yeah. I've had plenty of those. Unfortunately, I've had more success stories than failure stories, but, they caught my eye. I mean, I had a young man, loved his idea. He was all about helping youth, and particularly middle school, after school, who were more latchkey kids, to have an after-school program that got them involved in activities, but also was good mentor coaching. And he was using college students who were studying exercise physiology and exercise science just to be role models. Beautiful concept. I fell in love with the concept. What I didn't take enough time to study is that, school is August to May. So in the summer, you lose all your customers, and you got to start all over again next August, because you're going to need parents' signature. And kids are out of school 2 weeks in December. A third of your group doesn't show back up in January. And so the customer churn was so big that you just couldn't create a stable business. Everybody loved it, but it was just so cyclical in nature that you just couldn't get the momentum you wanted,
Does it have to be an original idea, or sometimes can it just be the tweak of something that's already being done that makes it better?
I don't think most successful businesses are either original nor are they wow. I think they're solving ordinary problems, and they can be tweaks of something already. They can be taking something that works in another industry and bringing it to your industry. It can be solving what looks like fairly boring problems to people that you say, I'm going to solve that. So I think it's never about the novel thing most of the time. It's things that are ordinary people. If you said, does that bug you? Would you like it fixed? And they said, yeah, then that's probably a really good business idea.
It's Banner & Company, and my guest is Michael Burcham, investor, mentor, author, and connector extraordinaire. We'll be right back. I remember talking to you about palliative care and people dealing with, end of life and really awful terminal illnesses.
Sure.
And you saw a way to improve that experience. How so?
Well, I think when people are facing an end-of-life decision, you're stuck between this crossroads of seeking every possible solution that might be out there and trying to choose how do you have as much quality of life as possible. And if you're not careful, you chase solutions and you listen for any glimmer of hope, whether the probability is 5% or 50%, and you lose track of quality of life. And often, I find that the people pushing that most, what I found in my research, often wasn't the person with the disease, is they were making decisions trying to please a family member or a spouse or a child. And I think what made the business really resonate is we stepped back and said, what does the person with the disease really want? What do they want for the rest of their life? If it's indeed terminal, is time or quality more important? Because you won't get both, and you need to pick.
Is it different for different people?
Absolutely it is. There are people who, they have a goal that they want to see a grandchild graduate from high school, and they'll endure any sort of thing they got to endure to get there. There are other people who I want to spend the next 6 months just enjoying my children, and I don't want to go be sick on chemo every week. I want to just be with my children. And I think it's a highly personal call people make. And I think the most sacred thing you do is listen, honor that human, and let them choose how they want the rest of their life to be.
So how does business enter into that experience? Is it training the professionals? Is it coming up with a program of thought? Or how do you do that?
Some of all the above. I mean, yes, there's the training of people. Most employers, insurers are happy to fund alternatives to heroic treatment. They just like to know what you got to offer. Most palliative care is a lot less costly than the fifth round of chemo that probably has a 5% chance of doing anything except making you sick. So there were plenty of funding models. The question was always, does the person with the disease understand choices? And even today, since I started that company and exited, today the choices and options available to people even more than we had at the time, because even more employers, Medicare, others have really understood that this is an important set of decisions, and if we give people funding to make choices they want to make, they're going to make the best choice for themselves, whatever that happens to be. So I'm really proud of where that whole industry has moved.
Remind me of the name of that company.
Naris.
Naris.
Yeah.
Company names.
Well, Naris is Latin for expert.
Okay.
And I wanted, it was really funny, when we put the brand together, I wanted to have the message of expertise, because this was about, we're going to let you know absolute black and white truth about every treatment, what your probability of success or survival is, and then you choose. Our logo was a dove. But the dove, every wing and every part was a different color, because we wanted to know it was for everybody, not just some people. And so there's a lot of thought went into name, logo, everything, just like Theraphysix and Paradigm. They all had unique reasons they had their name.
Is that part of your secret sauce, too, coming up with a name or a brand that does resonate?
It's part of what brings a team together. So I don't claim a lot of originality in owning the idea. I just embraced it, because the more I studied companies, what I found is when people feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, they lean in and you get a level of effort, I call it discretionary effort, beyond the job description. But to buy into something bigger than yourself, you got to feel like you're part of a journey creating something. So when we come up with names, I get the founding team together. We talk about names and what they mean, where we're headed, what's our big why are we here, where are we going, what kind of imagery would really resonate with our customer audience. And then we settle on something. And suddenly I got the whole startup team rallying around this notion of the name and the brand and what we're going to be, and they'll run through a wall to make it happen then, because they got to help.
So how do you explain Bucky the Beaver?
It could have been a lot of beer one night. I don't know. But it works.
Yeah.
And it works because it's whimsical and it's fun. And, there's nothing like a Buc-ee's. I mean, I just like, this is the biggest fusion of gas station and Walmart I've ever seen in my life. And you go in one and they're super busy. And, even my grandchildren want a Buc-ee's T-shirt, so I get it.
Well, they got that thing on absolutely every piece of merchandise.
Oh, absolutely. It's great merchandising. There's for sure. Yeah, I could take some lessons from that one.
Well, I have scored because both you and your husband, Hal Cato, have now been on Banner and Company.
Yeah, so and we thank you for that.
We got the twofer.
Yeah.
And I recently heard you guys do a talk together.
Yeah.
And it was very enlightening because y'all are, I'm not going to say opposite, but you definitely have different approaches, different personalities, and different sort of energies.
I think it's okay to say we're opposite.
Okay.
Yeah, our superpowers are very, very different. And it strengthens the other person because we're not trying to get them to become us. We're trying to lean into what they bring to the conversation.
So repeat that for those people that are maybe young couples.
Yeah.
The idea is not to change the other person.
No, if you need to change them, they're the wrong party for you. They should complement you in a way you don't have that for yourself. I mean, Hal's pores ooze empathy. I need more of that in my life every day. He sees the good in every human and every possibility. I'm always a little guarded, because I've been in business so long. Mm-hmm. Hal will believe whatever anyone says. He might show him ways to test it, So I'm good for him, he's good for me. And, we spend our Sunday evenings thinking about the next few weeks. What are you facing? What am I facing? How can I be helpful to you? And, I'm a better human because he's in my life.
That's great. Now, who makes the hard decisions? Like, what are we watching? What are we listening to? When's the vacation? Where's the vacation?
So if it has to do with watching, it's Hal's decision because I'd rather just read a book. And so I let him pick because I will watch if he picks, but I'm never going to pick because I'm not a movie person or anything. I watch it because I want to be social, but.
And you get something out of it.
Out of it, but left to my own devices, I'll just pull up a book and start reading. Now, if it's vacation, I'm the planner because he would just go buy an airline ticket and go somewhere. I want to know where we're staying, what we're going to do, where we're going to eat, what we're going to see. And so I script out the whole thing, which can drive him a little nuts, but he gets along for the ride. I let him have some windows of time where he can just plan whatever he wants to do, which typically is spur of the moment. I mean, literally, we were on a trip to New York, and I said, okay, you get to pick lunch. I'd already scripted most out of the rest of the day, and I figured, how hard can it be to pick lunch? Well, he had made zero plan, and we were down in Flatirons, and we went to 5 different places. Of course, they were all booked because this is busy New York on a weekend, and I'm like, clearly you didn't make much of a plan here. And he just laughed, and just roll with it, and you go back to the room and order room service because he didn't make a plan.
You guys have done so much, and you remain busy. I mean, is there a slowdown in your future, or is that just not in your DNA?
So we have committed to have a quarterly time away for a trip, and we're pretty religious about doing that. I had a really bad medical scare in 23 and 24, so we're very committed to taking once a quarter to get away. I think we both love what we do. We feel the impact of our work. We get a lot of gratification out of the relationships we have in this city. I feel pride when I drive down a street of Nashville or I see a former student running a company or somebody that I've known, or even just sitting here with you. I mean, man, I would watch you on TV at night and like, one day I'm going to be her friend, and here we are.
Yeah.
And you get to do that in a city like Nashville. So I think we're so driven to be a part of this community that you just forget it's work. It's just a lot of fun to be part of Nashville and what's happening here.
And you said to me, as a CEO and starter of businesses and expert on business, that you don't like remote work.
I hate remote work. Here's why. I don't think any of us are that bright. And I think we learn through the relationships in the workplace. And I may have an idea, but Dimitri, if I could share it with you in the hallway or over lunch and you feed it, and then the person next to you feeds it, we'll end up at a better place. That's really hard to do working from home or working on a Zoom. You just don't get that collision of ideas the way you would in a workplace. There's something to be said just about the familiarity of relationships. I mean, it can be as simple as how was your weekend and, what's going on with your kids. But the more you get to know the humans around you, the deeper your connections become, the more comfortable you are talking about the uncomfortable, whether it's solving a business problem or dealing with a personal issue. And, you spend more of your time with work than you actually do with family. And I think having a workplace that's psychologically safe, that people can talk, that's friendly, it becomes a magical place to unlock all your potential. And I just don't think you can do that working from home in isolation.
Do you have just one grandbaby?
No, I have 4.
You have 4 now. Okay.
Yeah.
What do they call you?
Chief. Yeah, I'm
What?
Chief. I picked the name. I did not want to be called Grandpa. I just thought that was not a name I cared for. And it's funny, my daughter, Lauren, she said, they'll never figure that out. And I'm like, well, Lauren, the minute they can say it, they get a bank account. And amazingly, she would put them on video phone with me and says, they can say Chief. Now, it sounded more like cheese when we started, but as they got older, they learned to say Chief, and now they all just call me Chief.
I love it.
Yeah.
Banner & Company is a production of the New Nashville Banner. This episode is produced by Steve Harouche and edited by me. The original music is by Verlin Thompson. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or go to NashvilleBanner.com. You're in good company. Our final question is in the fishbowl. You may know this from Hal being here. But
Yeah.
someone has left it. Someone in the chair prior to you has left a question. So
All right.
I can't.
Do I give it to you or do I read
You
it?
read it out loud and give it your best shot.
All right. From Audrey Schulman.
Who is the person who has had the most profound impact on your life?
That's an easy answer. This was my grandmother. I think children in their earliest years, up until about 10 or 11, we form in our brain what's possible for our lives. And if it's done well, we never forget it. Now, we may venture far away from it, but at some point in our adulthood, we're going to go want to find that. And she gave me that gift that has stayed with me my entire life. And when I look back on, I've had many wonderful people in my life, but her influence, her belief in me, her constantly being there to support me, provided a level of energy and opportunity that I would never have seen in myself had she not been there.
And what was her name?
Vivian. Yeah. And with one lung gone and a piece of another, she raised me and my younger brother as a Medicaid family, and we never felt bad or poor.